They never imagined that the recording would come to light or that she would be placed in handcuffs. But here we are, Chrissy Lynn in full glitz, being arrested right there. And the reason why a phony pregnancy is so clumsy and deceitful that it makes every love and hip-hop narrative seem like Sesame Street. The gallery gasped when the audio in the courtroom played, and the speaker said, "He'll never leave me if he thinks I'm pregnant." This is not simply another reality TV meltdown. It is perjury, fraud, and outright criminal misrepresentation. Dropped his pen, the judge immediately issued an arrest warrant, and there was a desperate attempt to keep Jim close, a plot to remain relevant following the Dipset collapse, or something more calculated connected to Cameron's betrayal and the VH1 backroom deals. The most outrageous part, according to sources, is that this isn't just nasty, it's illegal, and Chrissy went from reality star to reality check. You think this is bad? The pregnancy hoax wasn't just emotional, it was monetized. Yes, we're talking about brand deals, interviews, and a whole plot based on a baby that never existed. The court wasn't just packed, it was boiling, and the air conditioner couldn't handle the tension. Everyone could sense that something was coming, but nobody, not even Chrissy herself, was prepared for what was about to happen. Wait until you hear who leaked the tape. The courtroom clerk whispered something to the judge, who nodded once. She always wears a chin-high outfit, covers her eyes with designer shades, and acts as though she has nothing to hide. However, she was unaware that someone had brought receipts, this time from a burner phone and a microphone rather than Fashion Nova. Your client might want to hear this before she continues, he said, turning to Chrissy's attorney. He then gestured to the bailiff, and a flash drive was plugged into the courtroom sound system. A file called Lampkin Unedited MP3 started playing, which featured Chrissy's cool, collected voice saying, "No, I'm not pregnant. But if I say I am, Jim Jones remained motionless, just sitting there and staring at the bench in front of him as if it would open up and swallow him." The courtroom erupted in gasps, hands over mouths, and even the stenographer froze typing, suspended midword. He never leaves when he believes we're starting a family. Chrissy didn't say anything, but her lawyer did. "We'd like to request a private review of Too Late." The judge had already signed an arrest warrant right there in public court. No commercial break, just cuffs. The judge then moved forward and asked, "Manon, is that your voice on this tape? But hold on, how did we even get to this point?" To comprehend it, we must go back 8 months ago, when the first reports of Chrissy's pregnancy surfaced online. The blogs were ablaze with speculation about Jim finally having a baby, and Chrissy was shining in Harlem. New chapter for the Jones family, even though VH1 hinted at a special announcement for the next season of Love and Hip Hop Secrets Unlocked. Cameras followed her everywhere. Through Instagram stories, she rubbed her stomach and gave clues like breadcrumbs. "I'm not saying I'm pregnant, but I'm also not saying I'm not classic." Chrissy bait, but in reality, there was no ultrasound, Algin appointment, or baby, just a script and a meticulously thought-out plotline designed to elicit pity, gain additional screen time, and keep Jim still while Dipset collapsed all around them. As you can see, Cameron had recently revealed the truth about his relationship with Chrissy at that point. Calls, emails, and even a photo had been leaked, leaving Jim stunned and the internet laughing. Chrissy needed to quickly change the story, according to insiders, who claimed that the phony pregnancy was a power move on her part. An anonymous source from VH1's production team claimed that she knew how to keep Jim close. "He might have been angry, but if there was a baby, he wouldn't walk away," she said, and it initially worked. Jim began to come around again and was even seen house hunting with her. He even shared a blurry photo with the caption, "Blessings on blessings." Fans thought it indicated a baby was coming, so Chrissy's brand partnerships increased. One vitamin company allegedly paid her 5 figures to post a phony belly update, and another beauty brand made her their glow ambassadors, and even baby brands began deeming her. But the real mess began when she was careless and a video of Chrissy drinking champagne from a behind-the-scenes shoot for a Love and Hip Hop episode leaked. Fans initially thought it might be apple cider, but then the voiceover tape appeared. Cameron had the take the entire time, according to sources, and when the courtroom turned against him during Jim's son's tearful testimony, he chose to put Chrissy under the bus because he reasoned that if he was going down, he was taking everyone with him. The memo wasn't just recorded casually. It was a calculated act of blackmail. The voice memo was just under 2 minutes long, but it was enough to blow her entire world apart, and now the public is panicking. Cam gave him the recording, which was initially made during a late-night phone call where Chrissy was venting about how to reclaim the narrative. She was unaware that he was recording it. To determine the extent of this deception, was Jim truly duped? Was he aware of it? Or was he merely another piece in Chrissy's desperate attempt to gain influence and significance in a plot that had lost its appeal years prior? Courtroom security attempted to discreetly take Chrissy following the arrest, but that was the most outrageous aspect was when her own publicist stood on the steps outside and said, "There never was a baby." There were difficult reporters everywhere, and her wig almost blew off as cameras flashed. One journalist yelled, "Are you really pregnant, Chrissy?" Another asked whether it was all for VH1. Boom! By the end of the day, the memes of cruel Chrissy pasted into baby showers with empty cribs, a phony baby registry listing screen time and attention as the top gifts, and Jim Jones clutching a fictitious baby looking like bewildered. But the worst part was that Jim never showed up at the prison house. Not for bail, not for backup, not even for her mugshot. The quiet in the courtroom was louder than any gavel, as Chrissy languished in a cold holding cell, fully betrayed, wearing cosmetics. Jim apparently left. Word on the street is that he's cutting everyone off, but what will happen next? What other agreements did Chrissy sign under this false pretense? What lawsuits are pending? Who else knew this was a lie the entire time? Believe me, this goes deeper. The world outside was collapsing as she sat there with her cell phone confiscated, her lashes still intact, and her government name, Christine Lannon, without any reality star glitter, love, or hip-hop confessional lighting, just a cold metal bench, fluorescent lights, and the sound of a steel door slamming shut behind her. Sources close to the prosecution claim that the recording wasn't the only piece of evidence that came to light that day. A second leak occurred hours after Chrissy's arrest and included screenshots from a private group chat called Pregnancy Playbook. Yes, you read correctly. In this chat, Chrissy was of the messages read, "Pure scandal gold. Morgan B. will shoot the reveal in Miami. She just needs to say she missed her period and act emotional. Chrissy got it. I'll wear flowy dresses and rub my belly during talking heads." They were sent by a VH1 associate producer named Morgan B. and someone saved as CC Cam, who was thought to be Cameron's assistant. Let that sink in. See, Cam Jimmy won't know what hit him. They weren't just pretending to be pregnant. They were creating it like a miniseries, complete with false reactions, tears, and positive test props. One message even went so far as to outline a plot to use Jim's mother in the story. "Chrissy, I'll get Mama Jones to start posting." 2 days after Chrissy's first on-air pregnancy tease, a leaked Venmo transaction revealed a payment labeled Storyline Incentive from a VH1 linked account. This suggests that the producers paid Chrissy a bonus for maintaining the lie. However, by this point, the public's trust in Chrissy wasn't just, "I always knew that girl was full of games, and I haven't seen any baby bumps, clinic visits, or anything." Mama Jones said live on Instagram while wearing a scarf and smoking a Virginia Slim. Jim has yet to comment or make an appearance, but guess what? Fans showered her comments with support, including, "We've been waiting for you to speak, Mama Jones. You always kept it real." Chrissy done played herself out of the entire family, but wait for this next time. Leave that drama behind. She wasn't alone. What truly rocked the table following the group chat leak was when a former Love and Hip Hop editor anonymously shared a 3-minute unreleased clip from a scene that was never shown. Backstage, Chrissy removed her microphone after filming a confession scene, lets out a deep sigh, and murmurs, "Damn, I hope nobody asks for proof that I can't fake this forever." Boom, her own confession was captured on camera in its raw form, but it was so real that the video went viral. Within an hour, Shade Rue reposted it, captioning it, and Cardi B even remarked, "Lead, this tea is boiling." According to anonymous testimony given to the court, Cam allegedly sponsored a portion of the fraudulent scheme, so the story was no longer about Chrissy lying, but rather about who assisted her in lying and why. This leads us back to Cameron. Pregnancy rollout received announcements and plant stories that alluded to IVF. Yes, they even staged a fertility battle to humanize. Sources say Chrissy has been quietly undergoing IVF treatments, hoping for a miracle baby with Jim. It was all part of the script, a fabricated comeback arc for Chrissy meant to clean up her image after the Cameron affair drama and keep the love, was the falsehood one blog piece that ran during this campaign. And the hip-hop audience was emotionally committed, but now they want. The public comments were vicious. She lied about her life, not the drama, and her pregnancy to get sympathy, locking her up. She used motherhood as a weapon, which is unacceptable, and as if that wasn't enough, so the FTC intervened. Chrissy used her pregnancy to market prenatal vitamins and baby-safe skincare products. And now those companies are being sued for deceptive advertising, which means they're suing her firm, Glow Mama Naturals. Released a public statement saying, "We worked with Miss Lampin in good faith, and we are shocked and disappointed to learn that the pregnancy was fabricated. We will be pursuing legal action." As a result, Chrissy is now facing more than just arrest and public humiliation. She is also facing civil suits, brand blacklisting, and the judge has already set an emergency evidence hearing where producers, public relations representatives, and Chrissy herself are expected to be cross-examined under oath in connection with potential fraud charges for misrepresenting her medical condition for financial advantage. Jim has yet to respond, but our sources claim that he is actually cleaning the house. His staff allegedly arrived at the apartment where he and Chrissy had shared and took out anything that had her name on it, including her clothes, dog food dish, and photos, saying, "You're done." But here's the twist no one saw. Just before the conclusion of part 2, we learned exclusively that there is another tape, even worse than the voice note about the fake pregnancy, and that it shows Chrissy negotiating the lie with Morgan B in a hotel room while using scripts that have phony pregnancy tests on the table. When that video enters the courtroom, the judge has the power to elevate the charges from misdemeanor deception to felony fraud. Many producers may be subject to federal scrutiny. Chrissy may go from being handcuffed in court to being found guilty and imprisoned. But the worst part is that BH1 may have to cancel entire seasons. According to insiders, she didn't act alone. A second lady, a member of the Love and Hip Hop cast, allegedly helped her navigate the entire fraud. She is set to be subpoenaed, and the court was set to reopen at 10 o'clock a.m. I'm alert, but by 8:30, there's a mob. Bloggers with tripods outside the courthouse, YouTubers broadcasting live, aunties with styrofoam coffee cups saying, "OJ Chrissy fear Roya G." They were right, because part 3 of this mess wasn't just a scandal. It was by mid-morning, Chrissy was returned to court in handcuffs, wearing a gray jumpsuit with her initials stitched in. She appeared worn out, her makeup faded, and her attitude gone. This wasn't the woman who used to walk the stages of hip-hop and love, flipping her hair and making decisions. Woman with no patience left to appear before a judge. But this is where things go crazy. Just before the proceedings started, the prosecution requested new evidence and the judge nodded. At that point, the hotel video that had been leaked to the prosecution from an encrypted server just hours earlier video showed Chrissy and Morgan B, the VH1 associate producer, in a suite at the W Hotel in Times Square. On the table were scripts, a folder marked Pregnancy Arc Season 3, and a stack of positive pregnancy tests that were obviously props. Chrissy was heard saying in her own words, "So once we get past the second," Morgan's response was, "We'll cover you if you say miscarriage by episode 6, the fans will back off. I'll fake the symptoms the vitamins deal hits after that, and I'll say I'm high risk to skip the ultrasound storyline." In complete silence, the judge gazed at the television as if she were witnessing a crime scene unfold in real time. Mama Jones was there, but let's just say she didn't whisper this time. Instead, she stood up and said, "That's evil, that's straight up." Hammered the gavel order in court, but Chrissy just sat there, emotionless, crying, and without a defense because the video revealed everything: the strategy, the planning, the props, the manipulation, and the judge leaned forward. "Are you ready, Ms. Lehman, to explain this footage to the court?" Before Chrissy's attorney could say anything, the courtroom doors engaged for 15 years. As she entered the courtroom with a subpoena in hand and legal counsel accompanying her, the media went crazy. One blogger uttered the words, "This is giving female energy," in a whisper. Yandy came up. As she took the oath and sat down on the witness stand, she revealed the truth. "Yes, I knew Chrissy was lying. Yes, Morgan helped plan the fake pregnancy. Yes, Cameron knew too. And yes, VH1 paid her a bonus to keep the storyline going." The court went crazy, and even the judge reclined in his chair like after a brief pause. He continued, "I told the producers that using motherhood as a plot point was a bad idea, but they didn't care. They said that if the ratings increased, we would win. The worst part is that they told Chrissy to stage a miscarriage in case the lie was discovered. I didn't want to go through with it, but I had nothing left. My reputation was gone. Jim wasn't coming home. I had no storyline, no grand partnerships, no proposals, and I felt that if I offered them something dramatic enough, I'd matter again too." Drop Chrissy eventually broke. Her voice cracked and tears filled her cheeks. After the damage was done, the judge ordered a thorough inquiry into VH1's production practices, potentially leading to legal repercussions for the whole network. Several producers were put on emergency leave, and federal agents led Morgan B out of court. Investigators from VH1 made a flimsy statement accusing people of making poor decisions and promising to review internal ethical procedures, but the public didn't believe it. Twitter went crazy and VH1 promoted a miscarriage plan to cancel them, so Chrissy made up a whole life to keep a man she already lost. Yandandi might have saved the entire culture. Petition to shut down Love and Hip Hop gathered over 100,000 signatures in a single day. Brands pulled advertisements, sponsors vanished, and Chrissy's charges were upgraded by the judge to include felony fraud conspiracy to commit emotional abuse, and she could be sentenced to up to 7 years in prison for willful misrepresentation for financial benefit if found guilty. Bates walked her out of court this time for transfer rather than interim holding, and her final comments were hardly audible. "I didn't mean for it to go this far, Jim, but he hasn't said anything yet." According to sources, he is currently in Paris meeting with independent producers for a documentary series called The Last Truth. The show will focus on the true story of Dipset Chrissy Cameron and the fall of the dynasty because, even though she may have fabricated a pregnancy, she was unable to fabricate her demise, and ultimately the lie didn't save her. Instead, it buried her. She appeared defeated as Chrissy returned to the courtroom, accompanied by 2 bailiffs and a lawyer who appeared to be practicing her plea agreement. The public saw what she had become, not a victim, not a queen, but a headline ready to blow up outside the courthouse, where protesters were lining the street. Real ladies holding banners that read, "Pregnancy is not a PR stunt, motherhood is not for ratings, lock her up," are not political activists, fans, former viewers, mothers, or survivors. After beginning as a viral controversy, it became a topic of cultural discussion before the final a wire transfer receipt from Cameron's business account to an offshore consulting firm, with the objective of the transaction being a narrative development fee amount of $60,000, was presented by the prosecution as Chrissy sat in court visibly disintegrating. The date of the transaction was 2 weeks before to Chrissy's online pregnancy announcement. The room exploded once more, leaving bloggers and courtroom security stunned. Of course, Cameron wasn't there. His team said he was traveling, but insiders claim he has been covertly preparing his defense since the initial arrest. But that wasn't the end of the story because the judge had one more question. receipts from PR firms, reality show producers, supplement brands, podcast appearances, and a rumored book deal titled Forever Yours Maybe. The Chrissy Chronicles that promised to reveal the truth about Ms. Lampin's alleged pregnancy scheme. The answer was overwhelmingly yes. Hours after her arrest, the publishing house even issued a statement saying, "We do not support fraudulent narratives that harm public trust." Then, the final testimony, not from Yandandy, Cam, or even Jim, came to light. The book, Hidden Truths Behind Love, Loyalty, and Survival, was canceled. Nevertheless, one of Chrissy's old best friends, Trina Bell, who was formerly a background cast member on Love and Hip Hop and is currently a hairstylist in Atlanta, was subpoenaed after old emails between her and Chrissy were discovered in the VA, wrote, implying that Jimmy doesn't think right when he gets emotional. Trina had retorted, "He won't know until it's too late, even if it's fake. I'll have my season, my ring, and my legacy by then," Chrissy retorted. The judge lost it and slammed the gavel after seeing the emails were terrible not only for Chrissy, but also for the entire business that helped make her famous. He then declared, and this court believes what we're seeing is not just personal deception, but systemic exploitation, reports the official federal ethics investigation into VH1's production unit. Morgan B., the associate producer, was caught in the middle of the turmoil as the Q Mayhem producers hurried the VH1 representatives out. Chrissy sat there with the weight of every camera, every lie, every brand deal, and every direct message crashing down around her before the decision was made. The hotel footage was immediately arrested for conspiracy to commit fraud and unlawful tampering with public narratives. Came in, it was announced that Chrissy Lampin would be placed under remand without bail while she was being held on felony accusations of financial deception for commercial gain, emotional fraud, manipulation of broadcast content,